Hi guys, XYZ, and in this installment of The Good and the Bad, I'm going to talk about an old PlayStation 1 title, and what I have today is Twisted Metal, the 1995 version. And, this has been developed by Single Track, which now no longer exists, and, it was the first of the Twisted Metal series, the whole car combat type gameplay. Actually, it was kind of the most popular one during the time, so let's just see how it fares today. Well, for the good, there are a couple of redeeming factors for the first Twisted Metal game, and one being the contestants, the vehicles themselves. There are 12 vehicles you can choose from, and they are pretty unique in their own aspect. The cars can go anywhere from having big cars that do massive damage but extremely slow, or you have cars that are small and they take small, pretty weak, but they're extremely fast. So there's like a different way of playing each time you want to go through the game. So it's not like all the cars do the same thing. And the second thing I would say is good for it would have to probably be the actual tracks themselves. The actual places you actually fight, the arenas. But this is before the whole world destruction thing going on. All the stages take place in Los Angeles, and it kind of gives you a different outlook of Los Angeles. I guess maybe back in the '90s. You have like the traditional streets, you have the highways, you have like a suburban environment, and you even get the rooftops, for something more impressive and challenging. Well, for the bad, there are a few things which really are kind of a downer for me in this game. One being is the weapons. In my opinion, I say there are too many weapons throughout this game. Most of them are okay, but there are some weapons, like some of the mines. Some of them are useful, but then there are some of them that are just there for the sake of being there. I guess they don't really do anything. And then there are interesting weapons like the rear fire and the rear missile and the freeze missile. Those are typically things, well, traditional Twisted Metal that we see right now that are kind of the special type of maneuvers that you pull off. But this is kind of before the whole special indicators you have, the whole special weapon stuff. So they're individual weapons themselves. And trying to switch between them and then regular missiles, it just kind of a lot of a big hassle right there. Second is the car physics. I guess this is one of the early attempts of having a car battling game. The physics are kind of off every now and then. Like when you kind of crash into barricades or crash into cars, you at times take extreme amount of damage, more than usual. Sometimes it could be to the point where you almost lose all your health by just crashing into a car, one of your opponents. And, he's got to really be careful not to really get too close to your opponents when you're fighting in this game in general. And the third thing I would say is, while it does have two-player, there's no co-op, unfortunately. It's just a single 1v1 match. The problem is the matches themselves, the actual arenas you fight in are just shrunken down. They're stripped away. It's just a really small version of the maps typically, which is kind of a shame. It would have been nice to actually have the full length of the map, but actually in general I think it would have been better to actually have more than just 1v1. PlayStation had the multi-tab. It would have been nice to have more, allowing you to have more players. That would have been nice. Well, for improvements, I would say, at least for the weapons issue, I guess one easy fix could be, I guess, mapping kind of similar to the current Twisted Metal game. How you have like the D-pad mapped out to specific attacks and stuff like that. Like having up using the missile attack, pressing down on the D-pad, it uses mines. Stuff like that. It would have been a lot helpful, or at least maybe have like a special weapons meter, allows you to perform certain inputs to, use your freeze missile, do shields and stuff like that. That would have been nice. And I would say if they also threw in maybe a co-op mode, allowed you to do a co-op game with you and another player, that would have been a little bit more entertaining. At least that would kind of give you more incentive to actually play with other people. Well, overall, I'd say the original Twisted Metal game is pretty much a relic. You know, it really hasn't aged well, and I mean, granted, it's the first game in the series, so yeah, there are bound to have been some, some mistakes, some bugs, some needed fixes, and I'm kind of glad they did fix it for the second game. But for the first game and how it is right now, I would say it's just not really too worth it anymore to play it. I occasionally play every now and then, but that's just if I'm extremely bored. And honestly, I'd rather play one of the current Twisted Metal games as opposed to this first one. I mean, it still has nostalgia, it still has some good charm, but it's just the gameplay itself is pretty lacking. And with that, I would give it a final score of a 4.5 out of 10. It's a little bit below average for me, and it's just kind of hard to really get back into it. I'd say you'd be better off with like at least the next Twisted Metal game, or at least one of the current ones right now, like Head On, or I guess even the 2012 version. That's actually pretty good too. Well, this is Delphonter XYZ, and until next time.